It's really hard to get the balls in, but once you do, it's all good to go.
About doing the drive, but it is what it is.
Well, I will say it's good to see your guys' faces again. It's been a hot minute, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
right. It's been like 2 weeks.
That's because Christian was off hiking yesterday.
Hey, Christian, how did the dick surgery go?
Yeah.
It was pretty good actually. LinkedIn. I haven't been able to get hard though, which is kind of a bummer. I
Well,
just
that's
keep
Yeah,
not
flicking
I
anything
think
it.
that comes
abnormal.
back. I think that comes back later.
Hey,
That's what they say.
so did you miss us? Did you even listen to our podcast without you?
Yeah, did
Nope.
you?
He didn't. I knew he
I
didn't.
knew he wasn't
Fuck
going
no.
to.
This guy's in this
I'm-
just to listen to his own voice.
yes.
No.
He's the fuck up.
Definitely, I glanced through it.
You can't glance through a podcast. That's not how
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
works.
He's
Yeah,
like,
you definitely.
I flipped through it. I scrolled through it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I gave it the old 1-2. The second I heard your slights against me, I decided I was not going to give it any further promotion, and
So that's what we
I
did at the
was
very
done.
beginning of the podcast. So basically,
Yeah, and then he turned it off.
immediately.
Yeah, I was like, and we're done.
I think we need to. So I want to start recording video too because our faces are what's going to bring people to this podcast. I mean, mostly mine and Trey's face, and Christian will kind of be that like this is what a normal guy looks like compared to us thing.
I don't know. His blue light glasses are really kind of doing something for me. I mean,
Yeah.
if the glare wasn't so bad.
This dude watched Silicon Valley once and went and bought those glasses. He
Wait,
watched
how did
one
you pronounce that word?
Silicon
Sil-
Valley.
You need silicon?
Silicon. Interesting.
Silicon Valley. Okay, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are your hosts, Blake, Trey, and Christian. After a long hiatus, here we are, all of us together in one virtual room for your listening pleasure. Today, we are going to talk about two albums near and dear to us. We're doing Swimming and Circles by Mac Miller. For those of you that don't know, this was originally supposed to be a dual release, hence the concept was Swimming in Circles. So we're going to go in the order that they released. We're going to start with Swimming, a brief Apple Music intro. On Hurt Feelings, the second song from his fifth studio album, Swimming, Mac Miller raps, I paid the cost to see apostrophes. That means it's mine. Keep to myself, taking my time. The Pittsburgh-born MC has always been clever. On Swimming, he's also direct, particularly about the distance he's kept from the public eye following a high-profile breakup and other troubles. But this isn't a breakup album. Miller says Swimming is more a complete picture of his life. So with that being said, we will launch into an album I think that we all love very much. So this came out August 3rd, 2018. What were your guys' initial thoughts when you first heard it? Trey, if you want to lead us off.
Yeah, so we're going to probably wax poetic a little bit more about these two albums than we have previously. I know I like to be a sad boy just as a general brand, but, these albums mean something pretty serious to me and to Blake and to Christian.
So that's a fair disclaimer. We will try to keep it funny, but these are not very funny albums. So.
Yeah, this isn't the funniest of subject matters. So we'll probably just try to throw in as many jokes about Christian's dick as possible to really bring some brevity to the table.
Yeah.
Were we doing first time we heard this album?
First listen. Yeah, first
so
impression.
Definitely stayed up till, I guess 11 p.m. Central Time, right, to listen to this one, and was immediately blown away. I think Good AM is definitely up there with Swimming. I still think Swimming's probably Mac Miller's like magnum opus, definitely his best record. Divine Feminine's really good, but I think Divine Feminine is like kind of almost like a full concept album, so you can't really enjoy it in the way that you typically would enjoy like a Mac Miller piece. But the first time I heard Swimming, I was like, this is like the album he's been trying to make, like with those ever since, like watching movies where we kind of got away from like the braggadocious rap. So yeah, just completely blown away first time I listened to it.
Definitely. Christian, what about you?
Yeah, I can't tell you the exact. I mean, I definitely stayed up. It was probably the first album by him that I rinsed front to back. And I distinctly remember kind of comparing it into the evolution of his sound to kind of Childish Gambino's evolution of sound when he put out Awaken My Love. It very much felt like an album that Childish was supposed to make, whereas this very much felt like an album that Mac was supposed to make. It, in my opinion, is one of the best albums I've ever heard in my entire life, front to back, from just an emotional standpoint, from a production standpoint, from like him as an artist standpoint. I don't know if I've been blown away all encompassing by a piece of work by someone, and it's only aged just so perfectly in that regard.
Yeah, that's that comparison to Childish Gambino is actually awesome. I didn't really think about that.
I think I just like looked back on, listening to Mac and even Childish, it was very much these rap songs. They were more or less like a little bit on the mainstream side. They were very geared towards these specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Types of people, I guess. What's the word? I'm losing it here.
Really, really cool guys.
No, just like
just certain cliques,
it was really geared to just like for like Mac. It was like these college kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like frat boy rap.
Yeah, and you kind of see the evolution of that sound start to take place, but then when these albums hit, you're just like, holy fuck, this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was an avid Mac Miller hater. Trey can attest to this. When Blue Slide Park was out, I couldn't stand him. I didn't like his mixtapes. And even going back, I'm still not a huge fan of his mixtapes. I think just a lot of it is super corny. But after...
Well, really, you mean his mixtapes pre-Blue Slide Park?
Yeah,
yeah.
No,
okay, cool.
his mixed...
Just,
yeah.
Right.
But after Watching Movies came out and we saw him at Hangout, I realized he was a real artist. He was a real rapper. And the show at Hangout, he just put so much energy into it. I hadn't seen... Like we've talked about before, just the hip-hop shows in general are just not very good most of the time, and he just brought such a great energy that it was so good it made me want to listen to his music. So yeah, I mean, I followed his releases really, really closely, and then when Swimming came out, I think the first impression was like it was the first time that I felt like I could use the word beautiful to describe a Mac Miller album, which I know, like, I don't know, it sounds super lame and kind of sensitive, but when you listen to the album, that is the first thing that comes to mind. Like, it's a beautiful album. The way he put it together and the way that he was really raw and the stuff that he was going through at the time and his growth. And it's still something when I'm struggling with things and I have to go through kind of an evolution on my own. It's an album that I turn to a lot. And when I listened to it the first time, that was kind of my instant impression of it, of like, yeah, this is a very special album. So I thought it was great.
Trey, was that your first time seeing him live too? Was it at that Hangout show? Or were you with me in Auburn when he opened for Wiz? Remember, he was like Taylor Gang.
Yeah.
I remember that shit. I was there. I didn't go to that show.
Oh man, yeah. I was
on Mac then.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school, and we drove up there. I don't remember. I don't think I rode with you. I think you came directly from Tuscaloosa, and we went up to a friend's apartment and sat on the back porch and, did the things that we did back in those days. We could talk about smoking weed on the podcast, right? In the past.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. We live in Colorado. That's fine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we live in Colorado. All three
it's legal.
of us.
And we always live there.
Yeah, all three of us. We always live there. And, just getting high. And, like, we had an abundance of weed for, like, the first time in our lives and went to that Mac Miller show. Whew, man, that was a great show. I thought he shouted me out because he said, like, shout out to Trey. Yeah, I swear to God. Because I tweeted at him or some dumb shit.
I remember this.
But his producer or his hype man or something's name was also Trey.
Trey literally came back and was like, yo, Mac Miller, like, knows me.
Yeah. I was like, yo, like, I tweeted at Mac Miller and he, like, knows me now and, like, we're going to be best friends. I used to throw a thumbs up in all my pictures in high school because that was, like, his thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. God, I've done so much cringy shit in my life. Anyway, yes, I was at that show. That was the first time I saw
Fuck
him.
yeah. Yeah, because that was the first time I had, and I was just showing up for Wizard. I didn't really I knew Mac, but wasn't really paying attention to him at all. And he fucking slayed. I was like, that was where I really became a fan. I was like, okay, dude's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, do you guys want to, I know this is going to be hard, but do you want to pick bottom tracks of this album? I know it's like, I know we all think it's kind of like a near perfect album, but Trey, do you have any tracks on here that you would leave out or that you're not a huge fan of?
Okay. So I've been listening to this on repeat the last like 2 or 3 days, I guess, in preparation. And the last like probably 2 listen throughs that I did where it was like, hey, find something you don't really like on this. And I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't find a song that I could justify to say is a bottom 3 song. First off, it's relatively short, right? Not really like in length, but 13 tracks isn't all that many. And there's really nothing. I mean, I would say Dunno, or I don't know how you would say that by itself. Dunno.
Dunno. Yeah.
Dunno. Yeah. It is maybe the weakest song, but that's like saying like that you're the, least good looking person between the 3 of us. Cause obviously, we're just all really good looking.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Laugh for that. Okay. We're just gonna
No, I mean, I agreed with it. I thought it was a serious statement.
I'm serious. Yeah. No, it
wasn't funny to me.
Yeah. Fair. No, yeah, I would say Don't Know is like probably the only like weak song, didn't air quotes there. But yeah, what about y'all?
Christian, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Trey said, it's fucking hard to pull anything off of this. So when I went through, it was like I've got to pick a bottom 3. Conversation Part 1, Dunno, and So It Goes. And it's not like they're bad. I don't have anything bad to say about them. It's just as far as anything else on it, that they don't resonate completely with me. It's not like they're horrible tracks. Like this whole thing is fucking flossed out from top to bottom.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I wonder if I was trying to think if Mac knows that that's a Kurt Vonnegut reference. So It Goes, because it is kind of like a common saying, but that very much is a Kurt Vonnegut thing. I'm assuming
I'm
he knows.
sure he knows. Yeah, you know that dude. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, it's really hard for me. To me, What's the Use kind of interrupts a really good flow of Come Back to Earth, Hurt Feelings, and Perfecto. So to me, I think it's just like the positioning of it. I still like the song, but I wish it were somewhere else. And Conversation Part 1. I mean, they're all really good songs. It's hard to pick a bottom, but I would probably say those 2. Everything else, man, I really like. So it's kind of hard. But with that being said, this is going to be even harder. What are your top 3 from swimming? This is going to be fucking really hard.
Really quick, does Thundercat do the bass line on What's the Use? The
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I thought so. Top 3. This was not easy, but I did actually make some selections. So in order from 3, 2, 1, I guess, is Jet Fuel. I put it 3. The song's just such a bop. Come Back to Earth, I put it 2. Because like Come Back to Earth is kind of like almost, even though it's the opening track, it's almost like the centerpiece of this album. Like Mac Miller just does such a really good job of being really, really vulnerable and emotional without being pretentious.
Yeah.
Talking about like text messages and things of that nature, like very real things without like kind of going over that line. And I think that's like a big theme in the album. And then 2009, which I think is probably his best song ever by and far.
Really? Damn.
Yeah, dude. 2009 is so good.
Also, who were you, sorry to interrupt, who were you asking about who did the bass line?
Thundercat?
For What's the Use?
Yeah.
I don't believe he did.
Maybe he played it on that NPR.
Maybe that. Oh, I think that's it. Yeah.
That's what it is. Because I'm just sitting here like, yeah, 100%.
Damn, we could do a whole episode on that NPR Tiny Desk. That thing's legendary.
No, wait. What's Thundercat's real name? Is it Stephen Brunner? Yeah, okay, he did do it. Christian was right. I was going to give him shit for saying that so confidently and being wrong, but he was right.
I was right first, and Christian backed me up.
That's true.
You said it more or less as a question, and I told you, yes, you're right. I am right.
Wait, hold on. So in the sentence you said you're right, therefore I was right first.
No, but yours was posed as a question.
Let's agree to agree.
Let's agree to agree. We're all right here.
Sorry, did you have anything else to add to that, Trey?
No, yeah. I mean, 2009 is absolutely incredible. It's kind of hard to put into words.
Yeah. All right, Christian, what about you?
I'm going to do the same as Trey. I'm going to run it in 3, 2, 1. Wings, just because it sounds so goddamn sad every time I listen to it. Like, even how it was produced sounds sad. It's got this weird little, like, kind of broken note that's in there that kind of twinkles in the background and, like, hits weird. Jesus Christ. I was listening to it in the car earlier, and I was just like, tearing up, bro. I was like, fuck this shit, man. Then it too, I got hurt feelings just because, like, brand wise, pulling off a Trey here, a little sad boy vibe. It's just like when it's fucking just a rough one, like, what the fuck is the use? I blast that all the time, and I feel better about all the drugs and alcohol I do after a horrible situation.
Yeah,
that's good.
And then number 1, 2009, just like, yeah, I think, alluding back to what Trey said, we talked about it a little earlier actually on the phone today. Just it's fucking beautiful.
I don't love you guys talking about podcast related things outside of the podcast.
We cut it off very quickly. Yeah. We started talking and we said, no, hold on. We got to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Out of respect for our listeners and for you.
That's fair. Yeah, so this is really fucking hard, man. I'd have to say, I think number 3 for me is Jet Fuel. Number 2, not now, Cat. While I'm riffing, I'm in the middle of something. Can you hear her meowing?
A little bit,
100%.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Time to kill the cat.
Sorry, Pammy.
Number 3 is Jet Fuel. Number 2, I'm going to say, is a tie between Wings and Ladders. And then number 1, I hate to say this because it's so early, but Come Back to Earth. It's just, like Trey said, it's the perfect introduction to an album about, like, self-deprecation, but also self-healing. It's all in that song. And he just, like, you can tell he just covers depression. He covers depression really well throughout the whole album. But in Come Back to Earth, like, sunshine don't feel right when it looks like rain. Or what does he say? It's, think it looks nice out, but it looks like rain. Or when he's talking about basically, like, how sunshine doesn't feel the same when you've been inside all day. Like, that's like the perfect example of someone that's going through a depressive episode, right? Like, it doesn't matter if the sun's shining outside. Like, I've been inside my house all day just wallowing in self-pity. And I think it's super vulnerable, which he hasn't done a ton before that song and before this album. And he does it really well in that song. I really like it. So I'm going to take that as number 1.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. And you're like, it just sets like the bar for like introspection that's like just offered throughout the entire album really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we get into rankings, I feel bad because I feel like we're going to spend basically the whole hour of this talking about these 2 albums. But with that being the theme of kind of like his kind of downfall and him coming out of that, is that kind of what you guys took away from it when you listened to it? Like, did you relate it to stuff going on in your life, or were you just thinking about kind of like Mac's journey as a person and as an artist, like when you listened to it? It's kind of a broad question. Sorry.
No, yeah, it's a good question though. I kind of like in almost like an eerie way, like really identified with Mac Miller, like with his art and just like where he was in the phases of his life as he put out records. You know what I mean? And swimming and like everything that he was going through when swimming was happening was also something like just timing wise that just nailed me. So, and like the other albums kind of did the same thing, but obviously this is a much more like emotional, I took it as like there's like hope, like take care of yourself, that type of vibe rather than like full on depression vibe.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And that like things aren't going to be like the big thing that I always took away from this record is like things aren't going to be the same. And like, that's okay. Cause like there's other things to do too.
Right. Yeah. I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was always this like, I mean, when I first heard it, it was beautiful to me because it showed this side of, I think, artists in general that everyone tries to sing or songwrite about, but doesn't quite do it real justice. It doesn't feel like they're getting the point across, maybe because it's something that isn't easy to really talk about. And with this, it very much opened my eyes to those kind of two sides to these things with an artist, that an artist like him has to deal with. It alludes, I think, back to everyday life for everyone. So like as these songs became more important to me, they obviously had that impact on me, but I think it was just a beautiful way for him to show what he was actually going through in a way I think artists aren't able to do very well.
Yeah, that's spot on. And Trey, like you were saying, I mean, in Hurt Feelings, the opening line and kind of the chorus is, I'm always saying I won't change, but I ain't the same. Everything is different. I can't complain. And that's exactly like what you just said. It's like you kind of took away from it. Hey, look, things aren't always going to be this, right? Like we grow as people, and with that, we face different challenges. And I think he just sounds so mature, and that's such like a simple lyric, but something that I think people need to hear like a lot is things are going to change. Like you're not going to be the same person, and your circumstances aren't going to be the same, but you got to learn to live with that. He almost does like, I hate to say this, but because we resonated so, especially in the time of our lives that it came out, but like Man on the Moon 2, they're similar like emotionally on a level where Man on the Moon 2 kind of, I mean, we were a lot younger, so we were facing a lot less trivial things. In the time, we thought they were a big deal, but in hindsight, they really weren't. But Man on the Moon 2 kind of made us feel like, hey, we're not alone. Like other people can be sad too, like even people I look up to. And Matt kind of does this just way fucking better to me. Like, and it may just be because I'm older, right? And I'm dealing with different things, but he touches on that so much better. And it's nice to know, like, hey, someone I look up to and someone that I listen to all the time is also struggling like with their life, which I thought was really cool.
Which I think was a big part of his fan base and like why people just like, when artists die, which we haven't even gotten to that part yet. Spoiler alert, Mac Miller dies.
If somebody's listening to this, they're like, what the fuck?
When an artist dies, obviously you always have a big outpouring of feelings, that type of stuff. But like the Mac Miller fan base is like, when I did that thing at Blue Slide Park a few months ago, I mean, dude, thousands of people just like showing up and crying. And I think he really resonated on an emotional level with people kind of saying exactly what you're saying, where like he made people feel like they weren't really alone. And like he was like our generation's person to do that. I think for a lot of people, especially in hip hop.
Yeah. I think like the way he talked about it was just what resonated so much. It's almost like this, something that I think I resonate with a lot is almost like this weird little chaos principle of just like good and bad things are going to happen to you through life, no matter what. Like your perspective on that changes that situation. And no matter what is going on, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily good or bad. Like that perspective changes it, and things are going to continue to change, better for worse or whatever. But there's always that kind of silver lining that's there. And the way that he kind of talked about that, like resonated with me and how I look at obstacles throughout life.
Yeah.
So,
They're both, and we'll talk more about Circles later. It's interesting listening to it because like they're both like profoundly sad albums to me. Like to me, when I listen to them, they're sad and they're kind of depressing. But like Christian said, there is this silver lining of like, hey, things are gonna get better. But like, it's not like there's a bunch of upbeat hip hop party songs on this. It's not like you're gonna play whatever the opening track of Circles like at a party, right? It's not that type of environment. So listening to it, it's just like kind of like an emotional roller coaster of like he's changed a lot as an artist.
Hey, if I get the aux, I'm gonna play the opening track to Circles at the
party. Yeah, I know you will. And then you'll cue up a fucking Bright Eyes song right after and everyone will leave. It'll just be Trey alone drinking Screwball crying on the couch.
I don't drink Screwballs, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Don't come over. The boys and I are crying.
Yeah. I pull up the Trey's house. Get in, loser. We're going crying.
Going crying. It's gotten me this far. I mean, even the upbeat, even like Blue World on Circles, which I will get in that in a second, but like that's probably the most upbeat song on these two albums. And it's it's about death. Like that's the whole song is about death. So you're right. I don't think it's all like depression though. Like I think some of it he does kind of toe the line of some braggadocious stuff. Like even what song did you just quote a second ago? Hurt Feelings.
Yeah.
Even then he's like don't know what you're missing. Shame on you. Shame on you. Like I'm still doing good. It's just different. So. I think that is kind of a persistent theme as well.
And like, while that is like a little more positive, it's almost this like form of, it's this weird depression level. I think when you're saying things like that it's like, oh, like, don't worry, like this fucked me up, but like, I'm fucking good. When really, I mean, are you?
Not.
Like, let's be honest. Like, yeah. Well, you just cried jerking off. Like, you're not good, bro.
You're not good, bro.
I mean, agree to disagree. I think some of it is. Or whatever.
No, you're fucking wrong.
I do want to say before we go into the reviews, it speaks to how good this album is when Self-Care was not on any of our top threes, and Self-Care is fucking phenomenal. I mean, I played Self-Care because that was the single, and he released a video with it, and I listened to Self-Care relentlessly, man, and I don't even consider it top 3 on that album. That's how fucking good it is.
Oh, I contributed to at least 50 views for that video.
Yeah, and the video is great. It's so morbid, him in that coffin.
I know.
I mean, we talk about the album art on this thing, like so cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's just like it's a fully realized project. God, I love this album.
It's so good.
Are we gonna do ratings, or are we gonna do rankings, or are we gonna go straight to Circles? It's our first double feature. We don't really know what we're doing here. Right.
I think we need to just treat it how we would if we were just doing Swimming, and then we'll treat Circles if we're just doing Circles, and then we'll kind of talk about both. So Pitchfork, my friends over at Pitchfork, gave Swimming a 7.5. Opening paragraph, on his Wounded Fifth album, Mac Miller sings deftly about heartbreak and his mental state, capturing his resignation without turning sadness into a performative spectacle, which I think kind of that's what we said, right? Like you talked about how it is very, even in the first track, it's like it's not really braggadocious or pretentious to be like, hey, I'm vulnerable. Like he's not trying to be like, look how special I am for being open with what I'm doing. He talks about kind of what he's going through, and he's super raw and vulnerable with it. I think 7.5 is not fucking high enough. Spoiler alert for my rating. I mean, that's really fucking low. But yeah, I mean, like we said, we don't take this shit too seriously.
It's about as high as I would expect them to rate this album, though.
Yeah,
just because they're Pitchfork.
Yeah, not surprised by the rating.
Yeah. The thing that bothered me is they say this sort of heart-sick longing is not exactly something new. In 2018, you can't toss a stone without it landing in some chart-topping sad rapper styrofoam cup. But Miller explores his headspace with considerably more focus than Drake, Future, and Post Malone, artists who sometimes cut emotional corners in their rush to the next banger. Like, that's kind of the fucking point. Like, they just prove themselves wrong. Like, it is something new because he doesn't do that stuff. Like, he doesn't try to cram in bangers. He doesn't try to cram in, like, a radio song. He's vulnerable throughout the whole album, and he does it well. And Pitchfork just completely missed that. They're just like, yeah, it's different. It's same, but different. And it's like, okay, well, you're not really thinking about this article as you write it, are you?
No, they just couldn't afford to give anything over than a 7.5 because they're
right. Right. So, Rolling Stone, 3.5 stars out of 5. They said the self-described chill dude weathers personal wreckage on the most impactful album of his career. And they talk about, like we talked about earlier, how Swimming basically they say he, quote, finally abandoned his frat rap reputation for good. They touch on the Divine Feminine, but I did really like that, the fact that they called it the most impactful album of his career, because I completely agree. I think it most definitely is. I think it does what Divine Feminine did, just way, way better. So,
way better, and without the moaning.
Yeah, and without all the sexual innuendos and shit. It is funny to play those albums back to back, because it's like the Divine Feminine is when he's like really, really in love, and then Swimming is like when it clearly didn't work out, and so then he just wrote a project about it not working out. So playing it back to back is kind of like, oh, this is what being in a relationship is like, huh?
Divine Feminine, they're literally just like, so what should we have kind of in the background of these songs? He's like, every track moan loudly.
They're like, sir, are you sure you want that? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Literally every
Louder.
track.
Let's just
Louder.
full track just them moaning, which there is an outro where it's like literally 30 seconds of just like sex noises.
Okay, so those are the major publication ratings. Trey, what do you give it out of 10? We're an out of 10 group. We don't do this out of 5 bullshit. So
no,
what do you rate it
that's
out
dumb,
of 10?
because then you just give half points and make it out of 10 anyway. That's math, baby. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10. There's not even really a question, in my opinion. I imagine you both will say the same. Christian? One of the best albums you've ever heard, as you said earlier?
It's 100% a 10. I was only thinking about going 9.5 just in spite of you.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's just no question. Like front to back, it's just an absolutely beautiful piece of work. I mean, even what you were talking about with the artwork, like as a full fucking project, it's flawless.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9, but hear me out. Hear me the fuck out. I think Swimming is a 9, but if he were to make this a 2-part album, like one release, 2-part album, Swimming in Circles, I think it's a 10. I think Swimming, to me, especially knowing and listening to Circles after the fact, makes Swimming feel like there needs to be more. Like there doesn't seem to be a conclusion in Swimming, whereas Circles kind of brings in that conclusion, which we can talk about more later. But that's the only thing that knocks it down a point for me. It really probably isn't even a full point. It's like a 9.5. Like had Circles not ever come out, then it probably would have never, swayed my opinion on it. So I'll say 9.5.
9.5 final answer?
Yeah.
I mean, you're wrong, but I understand what you're saying. And you keep saying 2-part album, but I think it's more like a companion album. Which I know it's like semantics, but like it's Circles is kind of like the sequel, which I guess is more in 2-part. I'm not really sure. I've just confused myself. Yeah,
you're kind of proving my point and proving me wrong at the same time.
Let's get fucking lost.
Oh man. Okay.
That's a good segue into Circles, though.
Yeah, so that's it for Swimming. I don't really want to talk about record sales with these albums because I don't think it's important. I think they're also kind of skewed by his death. And it's just not – Mac's never been this like insanely high-selling rapper. That's not really his thing. He just has a dedicated fan base, and that's not really an important part of this album. So
we don't give a fuck.
With that being said – let's go into Circles, which is the album that dropped 2 years later after Mac's death. Mac's family put out a statement that I'm not going to read because I'll cry, but it was about how the whole project was initially supposed to be these 2 albums together. So Apple Music says the first time that Mac Miller and John Bryan, is that how you say his last name, Bryan? B-R-I-O-N?
Yeah, I think so.
Bryan. Okay.
I believe so.
The first time that Mac Miller and John Bryan formally met, Miller was already hard at work on what would become 2018 Swimming, an album that Bryan would sign on to produce. Quote, he comes in and he plays 5 or 6 things, Bryan tells Apple Music Zane Lowe. Quote, there was more hip-hop leaning stuff and it was great and funny and personal. The tracks were already pointing someplace interesting. After a couple of those, he goes, I've got these other things I'm not sure what I want to do with. Those other things were the beginning of Circles, a now posthumous, is that how you say that, posthumous LP that Miller had envisioned. Wait, what? Posthumous?
Posthumous.
Posthumous? Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Anyway, a now posthumous LP that Miller had envisioned as a counterpart to Swimming, one that finds him exploring levels of musicality, melody, and vulnerability he had only hinted at before. So yeah, let's go into first impressions of Circles. Christian, what did you think listening to Circles for the first time? This is post-death, so a lot's happened in those 2 years. What did you think?
Yeah, I think kind of how we were talking about Swimming's being just a generally sad album. If anything has been more true, it's that this is a more sad album to me from the first time listening to it. Obviously, after his death, you go into it with that, and there's this kind of bittersweetness about it that, yeah, you are getting this amazing piece of work by him, but kind of with that realization that he's gone. And so I think this more so than Swimming had just a deeper effect on where I was at, especially with how he passed away. I know that everybody, listeners and people alike, have dealt with losing people too early to, drugs or whatever it may be. And it was really hard to listen to this front to back without getting emotional, because it was somebody that I think from Swimming had such an impact on everything that I enjoy about music, especially with that album leading into this and that first track, Circles, just fucking rocking me. I probably listened to it 6 times back to back when it was released.
Yeah.
Trey? Hard agree. I think when any artist comes out with something like posthumously, I'm like 95% sure that's how you pronounce that word.
I believe you, but keep talking and I'm going to look it up.
Okay, thank you. So
posthumous.
Yeah, I was right.
Okay.
Posthumous.
Yeah.
There's a certain nervousness of like, what is this going to be like? Like, he didn't have his final hands on it. Because like Mag did so much producing, like he didn't produce every song on Swimming or on Circles, but he's the executive producer. And at the end of the day, his hands are kind of all in it. I think there are points in the album where he probably would have maybe altered some things, but those are just things obviously that we can guess at now. This album also kind of floored me. And I think a lot more of it is about death. Which Mac Miller always talked about his own death, right? He kind of called a shot, to everybody that sell me drugs. Don't mix with that bullshit. Don't want to join the 27 club.
Right.
He talked about it often. And like, especially on like Everybody, which is like just a song, that's just straight up about dying. And like Christian said, we've all dealt with death, of loved ones. Sometimes with those that have passed too soon from drugs or whatever you may have, it doesn't really matter, right? And I think that Circles kind of is almost like a tribute in some ways to some of those people. I do have to fortunately mention my good friend Chase Forrester, who passed away shortly, I believe right before this album came out. And he loved Mac Miller, and like, so this album will always remind me of him, and others too. And so, yeah, I think this album is a little bit more about death. Definitely still sad, but also still has those same rays of hope that Swimming has. Very good companion album. They're clearly recorded, like at least in the same vein, if not the exact same time, right? Lyrically.
Yeah. I'm with you guys, man. It was really, really hard to listen to this album, and Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up.
You're good.
Still listening to it is sometimes it's hard, like especially on a hard day. But yeah, that initial listen is just it's jarring, it's shocking, but it's beautiful and it's sad and it's perfect with swimming, and it really completes that saga. And it's interesting. I didn't know until I read that Apple Music excerpt about what John Bryan said, how he kind of already had some of these tracks laid out and was like, I don't really know what to do with this. And they were a lot more vulnerable than Swimming was. And you can kind of see that when you listen to the album. It is a lot more vulnerable. There's less explicit tracks on this album. Like, I think he's just melodically or methodically thinking through his realization of kind of where he's at in his life and how close he is to death and how close he was to death at certain points in his life. And that's what makes it so hard. Listening to it is like, there is that ray of hope. And that's what's like so heartbreaking about this album. It's so heartbreaking about the Zane Lowe interview, and so heartbreaking about the Fader documentary they made on him. Is like, he says in the Fader documentary, like, I'm good. Like, I have it under control, you know? And to know that he passed shortly after, it's like, listening to this album is just like, sometimes it's a punch in the gut to listen to it, but it's so good. And like you said, I was nervous too listening to it. I didn't want it to feel incomplete. And a friend of mine actually texted me when it came out. We were all talking about it, and he told me it was good, but it didn't feel complete. And I never got that impression once I listened to it. Like, it felt very complete to me, and it felt where it was meant to be when he released it. And I think it's awesome. I think it's great his family decided to release it. I know it probably took a lot of courage, and so I think it's great.
Yeah, his estate and his family have really done a really good job after his death to put out like very quality work. Like, they, there's really no money grabbing. Like, and it kind of speaks to, I think, who he was as a person, who he surrounded himself with. You know?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, on top of what Trey, you and what Blake just mentioned, it does feel that way to me. And I think I don't know it's because of how it sounds, but because he passed before this was released, it does feel there's like an incompleteness. And I don't think it's about like the album itself, but I think it's just about the release itself and how that happened, where listening to it all the way through, there's just this, it feels like there's just something missing, because there is.
Yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on it for me. It's like, there's just certain things where it's almost like this sounds like it's a little too like loud, or like specifically I'm thinking of like Good News is, I mean, it's a phenomenal song. It's nothing against any of the songs, but like even that song feels like it's a little bit too like poppy, and like he might have like toned it down a little bit if he had his final say on it. And it's not like a critique. It's just, no one can make music the way Mac Miller can make music, right? But John Bryan and whomever else was involved did a fantastic job. So
great observations, real. Christian, do you want to talk about least favorite tracks on it?
Out of just respect for this like project and it being kind of released after his death, I'm not going to name any negative tracks. I think the album itself was beautiful, and the fact that it completed his work is even more beautiful to me. So I don't really feel like talking about negative tracks on it, if that's cool.
That's fair. Trey, what about you?
I'm going to ride with Christian on this, and I honestly had struggled to even pick any that I disliked. So I'm gonna ride with Christian. Out of respect, there's no negative tracks on this record. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable doing that. Let's talk about the positives. So what are your favorite songs? Let's do top 3. Christian,
you want to go first since you're leading the way right now?
Yeah. 3, Surf. 2, Circles. 1, Blue World, because when fucking Blue World hits, boy, I swear to fucking God, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, it's just like, and the fucking sample, just absolutely chef's kiss, gorgeous work. It's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's like the one It's like the one hip hop song, really, on the album. Like
Yeah,
it's the one that
yeah.
feels like a real hip hop song in a sea of what does not feel like a hip hop album. So
You know what's funny is Disclosure produced that song.
really,
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. I changed my mind.
Yeah, Disclosure produced that song.
Gay.
Yeah. Disclosure's tight.
Whatever. He isn't.
I mean, obviously, you just wax poetic about how good of a song it is that he made.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. No, I'm gonna have to reevaluate. I'll get
Wait,
back to
can
you in a minute.
Can we go back?
Actually, I take back what I said about negative tracks.
Wait, can we go back, Trey? Is this a new saying you're kind of trying out on us? Wax poetic? Is that you're kind of trying to filter that?
I did say it twice. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you're trying
I'm
to
not like
trying to get a
damn
gauge
it.
on how we'll deal with it. Is that what's going on right now?
Well, I feel like it went over pretty well the first time. Now the second time, you're kind of calling me out for it.
Right.
I feel like I probably was watching TV like The Sopranos or something, and then like Tony says that, and I just like picked up on it.
Yeah. Trey's like that one 17-year-old that's like, so like we're not trick-or-treating this year, right? Like we're too old for that. And everyone's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And he's like, all right, I just wanted to make sure. But like, like we're not going to do that. Like we're comfortable with that. Like just to kind of gauge the room, right? Like, that's what he's doing right now.
I want my motherfucking candy, dog. I'm trying to fill up this pillowcase with some candy.
Okay, Trey, top three.
Like you guys don't want to all dress up like Ninja Turtles together and go trick or treating. That's definitely not
Yo, that'd be sick.
I pitched
Right?
Teletubbies this year and nobody was on board. I just want that to be known.
Teletubbies is so creepy.
Okay.
Okay, my top three.
Yeah.
So first one is, or well, third one. So 3, 2, 1 again. Is Hands. Second one is Circles. And then the last one is Everybody. Because
You think Everybody's the best song on the album?
I really do. Not to go too deep down this rabbit hole or anything, but like I think Mac Miller's perspective on death is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think Everybody does a really good job of like speaking to it. Once again, in a very unpretentious way, which is extremely difficult to do for hip hop music. To have a song, this, I mean, it's not really a rap song. But just have something that's entirely dedicated to talking about, the ins and outs of your beliefs on death. So yeah, Everybody, number one.
Cool. So I got to go number 3, Good News. Number 2, Complicated, and number 1 is Hand-Me-Downs. I love Hand-Me-Downs. Man, the chorus is it's so beautiful. It's so good. And I don't know, just the theme of it is, it's great. I think it's about just, leaning on people that mean a lot to you, your family, your friends. And I think it's awesome. So yeah, I gotta give Hand-Me-Downs the number 1 there.
Yeah,
Respect.
that was fucking up there. I love that song. I think I listened to it the most when rinsing these. So good.
Yeah, I think Good News, and we kind of touched on this in Swimming, but the chorus being good news, good news, good news, that's all they want to hear. No, they don't like it when I'm down. I think that's like, it's such a unique way to talk about like when you're going through a depressive episode, because especially people like, even people like us, right? Like we have kind of this personality for better or for worse, and people have this assumption of how we're going to be, like energetic and outgoing and obnoxious and drink a lot and party a lot, and like everybody loves you when you're like that. But it's like when you get to the point where you don't want to be like that anymore, or you're having issues, it's like a lot of people end up not good friends but acquaintances being like, I don't really want to be around that, and I don't want to deal with that. And I don't think I've heard anyone really talk about that. Like when you go through a depressive episode or when you go through shit that's hard, there's going to be people that don't want anything to do with it, and so I just thought that being the chorus was really kind of a powerful statement, and I think it's something that edged that song over other songs for me on the album.
Yeah.
Okay, going into reviews, or do you guys want to talk about it more? You want to go into reviews?
I mean, I think we've said quite a bit. I think that was a really, really good summary of Good News, by the way. Just want to give you props on that. Yeah.
So the Pitchfork again took center of the road here, 7.4. The first posthumous album from Mac Miller plays like a companion piece to swimming. It's an optimistic epilogue to the life of an aspirational artist. I think that's a beautiful headline for it. I think they hit the nail on the head, which is, if I'm saying it about Pitchfork, that it takes a lot for me to say that. But the first line of the first paragraph is Mac Miller's death from an accidental drug overdose sent ripples across the rap community he helped cultivate. He was a kind-hearted collaborator and invested heavily in others' growth, but his musical arc was left unfinished. In August 2018, he put out Swimming, an album that was like a quantum leap in self-discovery. Then, a month later, at 26, he was gone, unable to realize his potential. And I think the rest of the article is really good, but I think that really hits the nail on the head. Like he cared a lot about other people and his community, and yeah, I think they did a good job.
I think that is one of the saddest things about Mac Miller's death is just like how much more he was going to offer musically.
Yeah.
Both like in the studio and live, I mean, he was super excited for that swimming tour. Apparently it was going to be something kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So that's always like a nice little knife twist.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Rolling Stone, no surprise, 3.5 stars. Mac Miller's posthumous, I keep fucking up that word, album circles the fitting coda to his career. He was growing as an artist, exploring sorrow while remaining unwaveringly optimistic. It is to Mac Miller's great credit that he became more compelling the further his career progressed. He would have made millions if he had stayed true to his humble teenage beginnings as a sentient snapback hat, Lord Finesse admirer and legal opponent, and Pittsburgh's sauciest white boy since Terry Bradshaw. But rather than remaining a torchbearer for frat rap, Miller dedicated his adult years to the earnest expansion and refinement of his artistic vision as a rapper, producer, and eventually singer. They hit the nail on the head. That's perfect. There's really no other way to say it. He grew a lot and became a great artist. And like you said, the hardest part about his death is realizing we're never going to get what would have come next. So yeah, we can talk more about his death in a little bit, but what do you want to do let's do Christian, what's your final rating for it?
I'm going 9.5. There's something that missing. I can't put it at a 10 as comparison to Swimming, how it felt for me. So it's right there, but I do feel like it's just that little part that's missing, that little hand, like his hand in it, that you just wished was there.
Yeah.
Trey? I would also say 9.5. Look at that. Look at us. We're aligned this evening. Yeah. I would say 9.5. Just it's that half step, like Christian said. It's just a half step below Swimming for me. So I think my rating should reflect as such.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it's a 9. There are I think Swimming. There are some tracks in here that, depending on my mood and stuff, I skip. So I don't think it's a perfect album. I think the two together, it's perfect. It's as perfect as it gets. And I think had they been released together, it would have been a 10. They complement each other so well. But yeah, I give it a 9. It's not as good as Swimming. For a long time, I liked it better. Honestly, I liked it a lot more than Swimming. But upon re-listening to both, a metric fuck ton, I've determined that Swimming edges it out a little bit. So,
how many times do you think you've listened to these albums collectively?
Holy fuck, I don't know.
I know.
I honestly have no idea. I mean, I think I've definitely listened to Good AM more. That's my favorite Mac album, so I've definitely listened to that more. But I mean, I've listened to these a ton. I listened to Circles religiously when it came out. I was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of those albums.
It just stayed in rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. That was Circles. So that was Swimming in Circles. I do want to touch briefly on, because I think a lot of people that listen to this, we know a ton of Mac fans, just kind of your gut reaction or where you were when you heard that he passed, like what you thought about it, or if you guys want to talk about it. If not, we can totally skip it and do something else. But
yeah, we can
something that's worth talking about.
Yeah, I was on coming back from a hike with our friend Landon, and your sister actually called me. Carly called me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm on a hike. What's up?" And she was like, "Mac Miller died." And I literally was like, "Okay, I gotta go." And like just in a state of utter disbelief and just like shocked. And it was tough, very tough, like shockingly tough for a celebrity, or not celebrity, but an artist.
Yeah.
Where it was just, I don't know. It's really hard to describe, and it feels silly, someone that you didn't know. I mean, I did meet him that one time. I have that one picture.
Sure, he did shout you out. He did.
He did shout me out in Auburn. So, basically we were best friends, and no, it was weird to mourn someone that you didn't know personally, but you felt like you knew incredibly personally.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Christian,
yeah, I can't remember where I was, but I think kind of what you're saying, the pure shock of it, and like what you're saying about, the first time for it to kind of hit you from a celebrity standpoint, to where like normally you're like, yeah, it's sad, but like, to be honest, who gives a shit? Like, I don't know who the fuck they are. But I think from swimming and listening to him prior to swimming, but especially because of swimming, you felt like you knew him. You felt like you had similar struggles as he felt. So when he passed, it was almost like a part of you lost a little bit of a fight as well, because somebody who was kind of on that same page as you lost that battle, and it was just a huge blow to kind of like people who are struggling.
Yeah.
To have one that isn't able to pull through and see that other side and get there.
Yeah. I don't say this often, but that was actually really powerful from Christian, because I didn't really think of it like that, and I completely fucking agree with everything you just said, and it made me sad all over again. So that was
thanks for that, Christian.
Yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, I was I remember exactly where I was. I was at a Walgreens in South Florida. I refreshed my Twitter feed and I saw the TMZ article. I thought they were wrong. I don't know. I thought they made a mistake. Yeah, I drove home and I sobbed, man. I cried like a baby, and I tried to listen to him multiple times after, and I couldn't. Like, every time I did, I cried, and it was just kind of, you guys already touched on this, but this is the first artist I think we as a generation collectively, like, right, our parents' generation and their musicians, they had that collective loss. They had people like Freddie Mercury that they all felt pain for. They had people like Tom Petty, like that stuff was hard for them. And this felt like the first artist that I felt like all of my friends listened to and loved, that everybody on the internet listened to and loved, whether that were the case or not. And his death, like, that was the first time I had seen like widespread sadness, based on an artist's death.
Yeah.
So that was really heavy, but yeah. I don't have much else to say. Pam, stop ruining the special moment. God,
Pam, we're really finally like three dudes are getting really emotional.
We're really dialing
for
it
57
in.
minutes.
There's always got to be one thing to fucking throw it off if you get too emotional.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I think I called you, it's almost like when a friend passes, you call people and you're like, hey, hey, I love you, right? Like that. Yeah. It's just that simple action. And I'm sure that I called you almost immediately.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I remember getting home and Todd being like, are you okay? Like, my eyes were like welled up. I was like, basically like, no, actually I'm not fucking okay. Like, and I had to explain to him what happened. You could tell, like, he doesn't know who Mac Miller is. He doesn't resonate with it at all, but he was just kind of like, I'm really sorry. Like, I know it's hard. Like, it was just, yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
I also think it was like the first time, even just from a music community perspective, like at least for something that we had to deal with, where it wasn't, I mean, we felt sorrow for his loss just as a human life and somebody that we resonated with, but for his impact on music, I mean, I don't think it can be explained any other than just a gigantic loss to the music community and everything that he put into it. You know, when you listen to people talking about him and their interactions with, it's some of the most beautiful stories that you hear about genuine human kindness and just people being fucking good. And that's what the music community lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's that interview with Schoolboy Q where I forget what the interview's for, but he's like on a bridge and they're like trying to talk to him about Mac Miller. And he's like, I can't talk about that. Like, and there's so many of those guys, like, especially those West Coast rappers that he like kind of, you know, brought them all into his house after he got the Blue Slide Park money. Because Blue Slide Park, like, you know, not very good album, but sold a ton of records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the first independent album to ever be number one. And like he took all that money and went out there and, you know, like put so many of those dudes on, like Earl Sweatshirt and I'm forgetting, you know, who the other big guy was that he put on, or like would help record and all that type of stuff. So yeah, big time impact on the music community.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, do you have Twitter takes?
Oh yeah, I got Twitter takes. What are you talking about?
Well,
we gotta do rides or dies first, though. This is just gonna be a long episode. Y'all gotta strap in for the next 20 minutes. We're gonna have to. Hey, can we just do a little shake off all this emotional ridiculousness that we went through?
Well,
I can't believe we're gonna show people.
Before we do that,
fucking beta cucks, we're alpha males over here.
Yeah. Before we do that, we all love and miss Mac dearly. Trey, Kristen, and I have all lost friends. I miss Chris every day. I'm sure Trey misses all the people he's lost every day. If you guys struggle with it, reach out to somebody, talk to them about it, be open. It's okay to be sad. With that being said, let's move on to something funny and move on from the sadness.
Homies, you love them. Tell your fucking homies you love them.
Tell your friends you fucking love them, please.
Hey,
and
I love you guys.
I love you guys.
I love you guys.
Cool.
Dude, let's fuck after this.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to Christian's tonight. Okay, rides or dies.
Rides or dies.
Let's fucking do it.
Let's start with your song, actually. Let's start with the Nipsey Hussle track.
Fuck, yeah, I like that. Another RIP. Great. Cool.
Damn it, why did you did that on purpose?
Okay, Trey, what'd you think? Rides or dies for Hustle and Motivate by Nipsey Hussle?
Man, you've been trying to get me to listen to Nipsey Hussle for so long. And I just haven't, not for any particular reason. Man, that song rides. That's great. Also, did you notice it's the same sample that Jay-Z uses? Sample. Yeah, yep. Did you do that on purpose?
I did not, but I do love that sample. And he says something about it in the opening verse. He says something like Jay-Z. I don't remember what it is.
For all our listeners, can you name the song? Because I don't remember the title.
It's Hard Knock Life.
Okay.
Christian, what do you think?
Oh yeah, the second that I heard that, I was like, "This fucking rides so hard."
Fuck
and
yeah.
I listened to Nipsey, but not like a ton, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is some fucking gangster shit."
Very true.
No, the Nipsey Hussle name's Hustle and Motivate.
Yeah, that's what I know. I was talking about the sample.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I just didn't know if you ever said the name of the actual song.
No, I did. You did. Okay. I think somebody did.
Somebody did.
Now someone did.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do Trey's track. Trying Times for the Indirect. Sorry, I hope this doesn't play on my phone. I'm opening it just so I can.
It's not.
I was making sure it's a Calm Trues album. I actually like Calm Trues. I don't know what it is. It seems like music that I would not normally like. But I like this song, and I'm going to say it rides.
Nice. Yeah, the song's great. It's like electro synthwave. The drums are super crazy on it.
I feel like Christian's just waiting to shoot this down. Christian, what do you think?
No, I think Christian likes this song.
No, I was the one who sent y'all both this album when it dropped. So y'all don't know jack shit. I'm extremely eclectic in my taste in music.
Okay.
But yeah, this song fucking rides. There's She Melts on this. There's a ton of great ones on this album that he put out.
What would you even call this genre of music? Like new age?
It's definitely definitely synthwave.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I get
And
that.
all his shit's like that. It gets a little repetitive, but this one that shit rides.
Yeah. All right, and then Christian's track.
Yeah, mine is
back-
Backstage Pass by Smino. It's got Monty Booker in this like fucking kind of garagey punky fucking sad boy band, The Drums, which I like a lot of their tracks and I stumbled on this. So
Trey, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. So I like this song. I think the beat's really cool. It kind of sounds like it's in the Juice World.
The Juice World.
The Juice World a little bit, like just his voice and stuff. I would say the song overall rides.
Yeah, I love sad boy shit like this. Ian Dior, Juice World, just anything like this, I fucking ride with for sure. This whiny, I'm sad about life, like drum heavy beat, like up tempo sad boy shit. I love it. So I gotta say rides. And no one can ever take that away from me. I follow a playlist called Teardrop, and it's only sad boy shit like that. And you know what? I fucking love it. All right, I'll shoot it to you.
Send me that, bro. Fuck yeah.
So that was Rides or Dies. I will drop the links to each song in the description.
Everybody's track rides though, like all the way through and through. I'm proud of y'all.
Fuck yeah.
That's gonna be a one-off. There's no way that happens again.
No fucking way.
Yeah, not when you send another fucking Billy String song. Jesus Christ.
Whatever, dude. Don't even get me started on how great Billy Strings is, man. Those 3 shows were unreal. He told the story of Lord of the Rings through every song was like changing lyrics and shit. There was like a play going on. It was awesome.
You had to prove that you've never had sex before to get into that show, which I thought was a bold thing to do.
You framed an Asia poster?
Okay, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time.
Welcome to the 5th or 6th edition of Trey's Twitter Takes. Featuring me, your host, Trey. All right, we got some good ones. Man, I got a bank of these tweets. Just tell me when to stop. All right, this one comes from Aaron. His Twitter handle is @AaronSabin, so just a normal Twitter handle. This was from November 3rd, 2022. And he says, last weekend, girlfriend and I went to Halloween house party. One of her coworkers was there, and he was openly making passes at her. Guys, if you're going to date attractive women, the reality is that they're going to get hit on. Here's a thread on how I handled the situation. And the next tweet just says, I shot him.
Oh, man. So good.
He's got a GoFundMe right now for his bail.
Nice.
So please donate. Please donate.
Please donate.
All right. Next one. We have this one. This one is from @Savannah Halise. Twitter name is Sav. From November 3rd as well, actually. And this year, 2022. I masturbate fully naked. Don't like it? Go to a different Home Depot.
I did not see that shit coming at all. What the
There's
fuck?
so many Home Depot options, so really she's not wrong.
Yeah.
All right, so this one comes from @Benedict's Red, Jason, evil, from November 2nd, 2022. Just in the same vein of chain restaurants. Me whispering to Starbucks employee, someone took a venti poop on the floor.
I'm gonna start referring to my shits that way.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It was a grande.
Yeah, it was a grande.
I've been doing this thing when sorry, just a side note on poops. I think I've told you all this, but just so our listeners, anytime I take a fucking big old growler, I walk out, and even if there's anyone there, if I'm alone, it doesn't matter. I always just say out loud, "Ride the lightning, brother." That's it.
You said that to me the other day, and it's still the most amazing thing I've ever heard. The best part is picturing him alone walking into his own bedroom going, ride the lightning, buddy, just like softly.
And sometimes I'll kind of give a little knock on the wall too. I don't know why.
Ride the lightning, brother.
Ride the lightning.
Okay, this one comes from Ronnie Jackson at Ronnie Jackson, Texas. He is a U.S. House candidate for Texas District 13. This is a real tweet. I want to make sure this is understood. He is not being sarcastic. He's not trying to be funny. This is real.
Oh, God.
I will never eat one of those fake burgers made in a lab. Eat too many and you'll turn into a socialist Democrat. Real beef for me.
I will. Okay, here's the thing, though. I will say I ate Impossible Whoppers, and I did actually turn into a communist. That did happen to me. So
you were a communist before, dude.
So that's what I think what put me over the edge. So he has validity to that.
Yeah.
God, being a Republican candidate's got to be so easy.
Dude, it's like you just say the most nonsensical bullshit that the lowest common denominator of people like agree with, and you just get claps on the back constantly. It sounds really nice, honestly.
Yeah, it's true. I'm gonna be a Republican now.
Yeah, it'll be easier. Do we want one more? Or we want to
hit me with another.
All right, gotcha. This one is actually a screenshot of a Reddit post. So it's a little long, so hold on to me here. It's the tweet though is from @thebase_abides, and the handle is, or the name is Alaska soon emoji Okeechobee, which I don't know if this person needs to be reminded Okeechobee's like 3 months away. It's not that soon. But they said, I don't even have a comment to add, so I'm just going to leave this here. And then here's the Twitter post. The headline is, we need to talk about the anal situation at the rails, ... And then the body says, for those that are experienced ravers, I'm sure you know that public displays of affection are generally well tolerated within the rave community. However, recently, this past weekend at Freaky Deaky, there appears to have been several couples performing raw, unprotected anal sex at the front rails during the Millennium headliner set. I'm not one to judge, but the sight, combined with the stench, resulted in a hard-to-enjoy experience despite being on 4 points of Molly. Fellow ravers, has this been something you guys have experienced at other festivals before, or is it simply a localized phenomenon?
Shut the fuck up! At a Millennium show of all shows?
I mean, the name of the festival was
Vision.
The name of the festival was Freaky Deaky. So,
oh my god!
I feel like you kind of purchased your ticket knowing what you might be getting into there.
But can we just talk about the atrocity that's like day 3 at a festival and someone's saying, you want to fuck me in the ass? Come on.
Come on, people, be better. Have respect for yourselves.
Bad.
The question is, did this actually happen, or did someone just post this on Reddit?
I bet it actually happened.
I bet it happened for sure.
I bet it just got posted on Reddit. He said several, like as in there were multiple people engaging in this activity. All right. This is getting a little, it's a little much for our pod.
Well, real quick, I got to read you guys this saved Reddit post. The question, it's on Ask Reddit. The question is, guys, how does it feel when you wear a condom? So here are some of the answers. This guy says, like tinnitus for your dick. Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot hear you. This person said, like reading Braille with a nitrile glove on. This guy says, it's really hard to get the balls in, but once you do, it's all good to go.
That's the best one.
And then my favorite one of all of them, like sticking your hand in a bowl of warm spaghetti while wearing a rubber glove. Yeah, you feel the warmth. Yeah, you feel some spaghetti, but you don't really feel the spaghetti like you would barehanded.
As someone who worked in the restaurant industry for a long time, like I feel that.
Wait, here's the response to that guy's comment. BRB going to fuck a bowl of spaghetti.
Do you think the guy put a condom on before he fucked the bowl of spaghetti?
Well, only if he could get his balls in. If he couldn't. Oh man. Okay.
Oh
Bro,
my
I got
god!
like condoms in my dresser drawer. I'm about to try and tug my balls in one right after this call.
Please, for the love of God, send pictures.
Oh man. All right. Well, everybody, if you stuck around for a rather emotional episode, we appreciate it. Sorry it was so long. We will be back next Thursday. We're switching the release date from Tuesdays to Thursdays because we can't plan for shit, and that gives us more time to not plan for shit. As usual, follow the pod, share with your friends if you want. If not, fuck you. We didn't need you anyway. With that being said, you guys got any closing thoughts?
Just wanted to, kind of dedicate part of this podcast just to dive back into being emotional again to my friends Connor O'Brien and Chase Forster. Love you guys forever.
RIP.
RIP. All right, we love you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I love you guys. Thanks for doing this. It was a great episode. It's great to see you guys again. And we will see all of you soon.